Chapter 88. Hearing the disdain in Long Hui's words, when Fei Chen smiled and said, "Killing Yang Kai and capturing that woman naturally doesn't require them to intervene. But young Master Long, since Yang Kai and that woman want to enter the Black Wind Mountains, they must have prepared beforehand and are not afraid of the dangers. But we are different. Although our strength is not weak, the Black Wind Mountains are full of dangers. Not to mention the powerful monster beast, there are some natural poisonous traps which could cause us to lose people. But if someone is in front of us, we don't need to worry about these things." After Long Hui finished listening, he finally understood what Wen Fei Chen was planning. He wanted to use Storm House's group as a stepping stone to avoid any possible dangers. "Well, Hall Master Wen's consideration is very thorough. I was negligent." Long Hui nodded slightly. "Young Master Long is talented and intelligent, but after all, you are not experienced enough and have a simple heart, so you didn't think of this layer." Wen Fei Chen chuckled. As for how to deal with the Storm House people, both of them had a tacit understanding, so there was no need to say more. That woman called Xianxia had the strength of peak separation and reunion boundary at such a young age, so there must be a master behind her. To deal with this kind of person, one must either not offend them, or cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. The Storm House people must not be left alive. After the arrangements were made, the Blood Group people went to sleep. The next day, Yang Kai and Xianxia, as Wen Fei Chen expected, changed direction from the small town and went directly into the Black Wind Mountains. After they left for half a day, the Blood Group and Storm House people dared to follow them. Xianxia's strength was not weak. If they were too close, they might be discovered, but if they were too far away, they might lose them, so half a day's time was the best. Wen Fei Chen had been in Jianghu for many years, so he naturally had some experience in tracking. He was certain that he would not lose track of these two juniors in the mountains. After entering the Black Wind Mountains, Yang Kai and Xianxia's speed naturally slowed down. Without the whistling of the wind and the distance between them, the two people talked a lot, and after a day, they felt closer to each other. At night, Yang Kai and Xianxia found a towering tree and went to rest on the trunk. The trunk was very spacious, so the two people were almost sitting side by side, leaving a small gap between them. Yang Kai could almost smell Ningqiang's body fragrance. Little senior sister. After becoming familiar with each other, Kai Yang and her no longer had that feeling of estrangement. Even the way they addressed each other had changed. This was because Kai Yang felt that Xianxia was like a child that hadn't grown up yet. Especially those pair of eyes, they gave off a feeling of innocence and innocence. "Senior sister is senior sister. Why did you add the word little?" Xianxia was a little unhappy. "What's in that bag of yours?" Ignoring her question, Kai Yang pointed to the bag she had put aside and asked. Yang Kai had been holding back this question for 4 or 5 days, so he had to get it out of his mouth. "This." Xianxia was easily changed the topic. She held the bag in her arms like it was a treasure. "This is the material that Master has prepared over the years. When the time comes, if you can take the 9 yuan condensing dew, I will have to refine it on the spot. The 9 yuan condensing dew is a very special thing. Even if you take it, if you don't refine it within 2 hours, it will slowly dissipate." "So that's how it is?" Yang Kai nodded. "Junior brother." Xianxia suddenly called out kindly. "What's wrong?" "I have a question for you." "Good, I also have a question for you." Yang Kai smiled. "Then we have to answer honestly, okay?" "Okay." "I'll ask first." Xianxia said impatiently. "Go ahead." Yang Kai chuckled. "I promise I won't lie to you." Xianxia pursed her lips and turned to look at Yang Kai. She hesitated for a moment before saying, "I heard Master say that when he asked for your help, you would make all sorts of excuses. But when you knew it was me who needed your help, you immediately agreed. But what do you think?" Yang Kai also turned to look at her. When their eyes met, Xianxia blushed a little. They were too close, so she quickly turned her head and said, "I don't know, but Master said that you don't have good intentions and told me to be wary of you." "Old man Meng said that?" Yang Kai was furious. Xianxia sold out her master without any guilt. "That old man." Yang Kai was furious. What kind of person did he think he was? Then why did you agree to it? Yang Kai glanced at her and laughed. Your master is right. I don't have good intentions towards you, that's why I agreed so quickly. While grinning, he slowly approached Xianxia. Xianxia was startled and instinctively shrank back. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something and said with a serious expression, Junior brother, you can't beat me. This was the truth. Yang Kai estimated that if he continued to act presumptuously, he would immediately be sent flying. Xianxia was indeed delicate, but that didn't mean she was easy to deal with. Yang Kai put away the smile on his face and his expression became serious. He slowly took out a bottle from his chest and carefully rubbed it. Because of this, Xianxia was puzzled. Looking down, she saw that it was a bottle of High Heaven Pavilion's external injury medicine, blood coagulation cream. The scene from 2 months ago flashed through her mind. Xianxia immediately covered her mouth and looked at Yang Kai in a daze. She didn't expect that he would still keep this bottle of blood coagulation cream. Yang Kai laughed. I, Yang Kai, can see who is good to me. After entering the sect for 3 years, this bottle of blood coagulation cream is the first warmth and care I've felt. How did you know? Xianxia looked at him in disbelief. She really did leave this bottle of cream for Yang Kai, but wasn't he unconscious at the time? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. There's a saying that one can recognize a woman by smelling her fragrance. Xianxia's face turned red. These words made her feel like a lecher. But her heart relaxed. It turned out that he didn't hesitate to help her just because of this blood coagulation cream that was worth 10 sect contribution points. Master was wrong. It's your turn to ask. Since she had figured out her doubts, Xianxia didn't want to get to the bottom of it, so she quickly changed the topic. Yang Kai carefully put away the bottle of blood coagulation cream and said, Treasurer Meng couldn't have come because of an old illness, right? Xianxia suddenly became bashful. After a long time, she shyly said, I used medicine to knock him out. Yang Kai was stunned. Then he suddenly burst into laughter and couldn't stop. What are you laughing at? Xianxia was embarrassed and angry. That night, he suddenly told me not to come. I had no choice but to knock him out. Yang Kai was still laughing. Xianxia couldn't help but lightly hit him a few times. After hitting him, she realized that this action was a bit too intimate. For a moment, she was embarrassed and didn't know what to do. I'm going to rest. You can laugh by yourself. Xianxia was too embarrassed to stay here any longer. Leaping up, she jumped onto another tree and refused to pay any more attention to Kai Yang. Chapter 89. After walking for several days in the Black Wind Mountains, Yang Kai was surprised to find that they had not encountered any dangerous monster beast. Originally, he was full of worries. After all, there were many powerful monster beasts in the Black Wind Mountains. With his current strength, if he really encountered one, he would only become a burden to Xianxia. However, Xianxia obviously came prepared. He did not know what method he used to take Yang Kai to avoid these overlords of the jungle. The two people's walking route was also erratic. Sometimes they would go east, sometimes they would go west, often they would go in a big circle, but it was actually very safe. Occasionally, they would encounter a few level 2 or 3 monster beast, but in front of Xianxia, they would be defeated in a few moves. After carefully observing for a long time, Yang Kai figured out that Xianxia was using the dark green bracelet on her wrist to find the location of the powerful monster beast. Every time there was a demonic beast that this little senior sister found difficult to deal with blocking her path, her bracelet would emit a burst of dark green light. She had never worn this bracelet before. The only accessory she had was the sapphire on her forehead. Therefore, this bracelet should have been specially prepared for this trip. This was definitely an artifact. Yang Kai, in any case, had a little bit of eyesight, and this artifact was probably given to her by Treasurer Meng. In the end, where did Old Man Meng come from? The more Kai Yang thought about it, the more confused he became. He was just an insignificant shopkeeper of the contribution hall. How could he accept such a monstrous disciple like Xianxia? Furthermore, he even bestowed her with an artifact. This bracelet was not something an ordinary person would be able to take out. Although he didn't know what grade it was, Kai Yang estimated that it was at least an Earth-grade artifact. This kind of artifact was very rare in Sky Tower. Compared to Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang's easy journey, the bloody battle gang following behind them were in deep water and scorching fire. In the past few days, large and small battles had been fought more than a dozen times. If it wasn't for the fact that this group of people from the blood group was not weak, perhaps they would have already become food for the monster beast. Although when Fei Chen was an expert at the 5th level of Yuanqi realm, he wasn't in a very good state at the moment. Just now, the group of people actually encountered a monster beast that was at the peak of the 5th level. The peak of the 5th order was equivalent to the peak of the human Yuanqi realm, which was several levels higher than his strength. An extremely difficult battle ensued. Although they relied on their advantage in numbers to drive the monster beast away, the blood group unexpectedly lost a separation and reunion boundary expert. When Fei Chen flew into a rage. This time, the bloody group sent a total of 8 people. Among them, when Fei Chen was the only one in the Yuanqi realm. There were 4 separation and reunion boundary experts, and the rest were all in the Qi transformation realm. Among them, Long Hui's strength was the lowest, only at the 1st level of the Qi transformation realm. Originally, they thought that as long as they followed behind Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang from a distance, they wouldn't encounter too much danger. However, only God knows what method these 2 people used to avoid the monster beast. Instead, they were the ones chasing after them. Now, they even lost a separation and reunion boundary expert. How could Wen Fei Chen not be angry? But now, it was impossible to back down. They had already lost a person, so could it be that they could still give up halfway? After resting for a moment, Wen Fei Chen bluntly said to Nu Lang, "Go in front, we have to set off." Nu Lang looked at the severed limbs on the ground and his mind was in a trance. Just now, the blood group had lost a person. How could the Stormhouse's small characters be safe and sound? The 2 Stormhouse disciples were swallowed by the 5th level monster beast, leaving only half of their arms on the ground. He finally understood why he felt something was wrong that night. How could the blood group be kind enough to bring him to Yang Kai? Clearly, they wanted to use the Stormhouse's disciples as a pathfinder. But even if he understood, he didn't dare to complain, let alone resist. Being the pathfinder in front, he might be lucky enough to survive, but at this time, if he resisted, only death awaited him. With a pale face, Nu Lang led the group of Stormhouse disciples in front. Behind him, Wen Fei Chen gave instructions, sometimes to the east, sometimes to the west. They didn't lose sight of Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang. At this moment, Yang Kai, who was following Xia Ningchang, suddenly stopped. He turned his head and looked in a certain direction, his eyes flashing with joy. "What's wrong?" Xia Ningchang turned his head and asked, also stopping. "Is there any danger over there?" Yang Kai pointed to the side and asked. "No danger, I don't feel any trace of the monster beast." Xia Ningchang lowered her head and looked at her bracelet. "Then let's go there." Yang Kai didn't say anything and rushed out. Although Xia Ningchang didn't know why he was so happy, she could only follow him. After walking a distance of less than 100 feet, Xia Ningchang suddenly felt a burst of hot air blowing towards her, burning her face red. Looking around, she saw a patch of bright red flowers the size of a palm growing on the sunny ground in front of her. There were a lot of flowers, at least a dozen of them. Meanwhile, Yang Kai was mercilessly plucking the flowers one by one without any trace of politeness. After a while, Yang Kai came back with a big harvest and said, "Do you know what this is?" Blue blood mystic sunflower, a low-level earth-grade material. "So that's why you came here." Xia Ningchang couldn't help but come to a realization. Low-level earth-grade. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. That's not bad. He could feel that the yang attribute energy contained in each jasper blood mystic sunflower was no less than that of a 3-sun fruit. Just now, it was because of the reaction of the origin of yang on his chest that Yang Kai came here to take a look. Sure enough, he had a big harvest. Speaking of which, this place was considered the inner part of Black Wind Mountain, so there was no lack of natural treasures. However, The purpose of this trip was to help Xianxia, so even if Yang Kai wanted to, he couldn't look around. That would waste too much time and also be accompanied by a lot of risks. However, since he sensed it nearby, he naturally couldn't let it go. "Do you want me to help you refine the pill?" Xianxia asked. "No need, I'll refine it at night when we rest." This little senior sister's alchemy skills were superb, but alchemy always consumed yuan qi. Walking in the dense forest, Yang Kai still felt that it was best to be careful. It was best not to waste yuan qi if he could. "That's fine." Xianxia nodded. "We're not far from that place. We'll reach it in about 2 to 3 days. There's plenty of time." It was unknown if it was because of luck, but Yang Kai's origin of Yang only reacted after walking for a few days. However, after finding a dozen blue blood mystic sunflowers, Yang Kai actually found a few more Yang attribute natural treasures just 1 day later. But this time, his luck was not as good as last time. These few stalks of Yang attribute herbs were actually guarded by a third-order monster beast. He had no choice but to ask Xianxia to take action and drive the monster beast away so that Yang Kai could take it. On this day, the two passed through the forest and suddenly arrived at the edge of an incomparably huge valley. Xianxia let out a long breath. "Junior brother, we're here." Chapter 90. The valley in front of them was very large, covering an area of about a few dozen square kilometers. Furthermore, it was a very standard circular valley. Standing at the edge of the valley, Kai Yang looked down and discovered that the bottom of the valley was about 300 feet from his current position. The bottom of the valley was verdant and lush, not much different from the forest outside. Moreover, the valley was filled with mountains and clear waters. The scenery was not bad. Xianxia looked down at her bracelet, and after a while, she said excitedly, "My luck is pretty good. There isn't a monster beast that is too strong here." While speaking, she couldn't help but sigh in relief. Along the way, she could avoid the monster beast blocking the way, but if there was a monster beast that was too strong in this valley, she could only fight. After all, this was the place she was looking for. "This place seems very ordinary." Yang Kai frowned. "It's just not the right time." Xianxia smiled. "If it wasn't for the 7th day of the 7th month, when Master and I happened to pass by here, I'm afraid we wouldn't have discovered the mystery of this place. It was also at that time that Master decided to let me refine the 9th Yuan condensing dew." "But why did he change his mind at the crucial moment? Also, you didn't tell me how I was going to help you collect that thing." A few days ago, they had been on the road, so Yang Kai didn't ask much, but now that they had arrived at their destination, he couldn't keep it in the dark. If the 9th Yuan condensing dew appeared and he didn't know how to deal with it, wouldn't it ruin his plan? Therefore, he had to ask clearly and make some preparations. "I'll tell you when the time comes." Xianxia didn't answer. Yang Kai was puzzled, but he didn't ask. This matter was so mysterious, and Yang Kai was also puzzled by Treasurer Meng's attitude. But since he agreed to help, he would do his best when the time came. "Come here." Xianxia waved at Yang Kai. Yang Kai looked at her strangely. "What?" "I'll take you down." Xianxia blinked her big eyes and replied, "It's so high up here. I can do it myself." Yang Kai immediately refused. What a joke, he was a man. How could he let a woman carry him down? What would that look like? After he finished speaking, he immediately leapt forward. While Xianxia cried out in alarm, Kai Yang was like a meteorite falling from the sky, rapidly falling towards the ground. Xianxia was scared out of his wits. Yang Kai's strength was not high. How could he survive if he was carried down like this? At that moment, she followed his footsteps closely. Her figure gracefully descended, ready to lend him a hand at the critical moment. The speed of their descent became faster and faster. When they were about a dozen feet from the ground, Yang Kai suddenly kicked to the side. With a loud bang, Yang Kai kicked the rock wall beside him. Using the rebound force, Yang Kai flipped a few times, offloading a lot of the force. His movements were wild as he shot out diagonally. Boom! Yang Kai landed on the ground. His legs bent slightly, smashing a hole in the ground. Dust flew everywhere. Xianxia then landed lightly beside him. One was like a fairy descending to earth, while the other was like a rock falling to the ground. The visual impression was completely different. But no matter what, he still jumped down safely. Yang Kai's face secretly twitched. His 2 legs showed signs of trembling. Xianxia pursed her lips, holding back her laughter. With her eyesight, how could she not see that her prideful junior brother had suffered a loss just now? A height of 300 feet. With his strength at the 4th level of the initial element realm, it was already a miracle that he could safely land on the ground. Xianxia pretended to look around and said, "Today is the 5th day of the new year. In 2 days it will be the 7th. I need to make some arrangements in this valley. Junior brother, wait for me here. There's no danger here anyway." Yang Kai's face was cold. He nodded silently. Xianxia then rushed out. Before she left, she turned back and said worriedly, "I need to make arrangements for a long time. Don't run around. Otherwise, I won't be able to find you." Yang Kai nodded slightly again. His expression was cold. He looked extremely handsome. When Xianxia's figure disappeared from sight, Yang Kai sat down on the ground. His hands kept rubbing his legs and he grimaced. Although he had cushioned a lot of the impact when he fell to the ground, it was still quite painful. After a long while, the numbness in his legs subsided. Yang Kai didn't stay idle. He had nothing to do, so he checked the terrain nearby. Although Xianxia said there was no danger here, it couldn't be wrong to be careful. After some investigation, there was indeed nothing unusual in this valley. Xianxia didn't return to Yang Kai until the afternoon of the next day. Although he didn't know what she had arranged, looking at her pale face, he knew that this arrangement must have consumed a lot of energy and yuan qi. "I'll recover first. Tonight at midnight, the 9th Yin congregation ground will gather all the Yin qi. From that time until sunrise, we must find the 9th Yin yuan condensing dew and then collect it. If we miss the time, it will hide again," Xianxia anxiously said. Then she took out a few pills and stuffed them into her mouth. She closed her eyes and meditated. Yang Kai stood on the side to protect her. He was motionless like a statue. At the edge of the valley, a few miles away, the people of Bloody Group and Stormhouse were all resting. This time, following Yang Kai and Xianxia deep into the Black Wind Mountain range was really a big loss. There were originally 17 to 18 people, but now there were only 13 left. The others had all lost their lives under the attack of the monster beast. The Blood Group still had 7 people left. Among them, one of the separation and reunion boundary experts had died. The remaining 3 separation and reunion boundary experts were all injured. Even when Fei Chen had a long bloody scar on his chest. The remaining 2 Qi transforming boundary disciples were also exhausted. Stormhouse only had 6 small characters left. Apart from Nu Lang, who was at Qi transforming 1st level, there were 4 initial element realm disciples. There was also a tempered body disciple who was very lucky. He was just a little scared and now his mind was not clear. Among all the people present, the only one who was still in good condition was Long Hui. His identity was special. Every time there was a battle, he would be protected inside, so naturally he wouldn't be injured. After chasing for several days, they finally arrived here. Long Hui had already lost his patience. With a gloomy face, he said, "Hall Leader Wen, do we still want to chase? If we continue to chase, I'm afraid our losses will be even greater. When grandfather investigates, who will be able to bear the blame?" When Fei Chen was annoyed, he knew that Long Hui wanted him to bear the blame for this mistake. He thought to himself, "I made this decision because I wanted to please you. If I had known that this trip would be so dangerous, why would I waste so much effort? I would have already killed Yang Kai in that small town." Although he thought like this, when Fei Chen still explained in a gentle voice, "No need to chase. It seems that they have already arrived at their destination. The valley ahead is their destination." Chapter 91. Hearing this, Long Hui's expression brightened. "You're saying that the thing they're looking for is right in front of them?" "That's right. They should have arrived here yesterday, but they haven't moved. It's clear that they've arrived at their destination." When Fei Chen replied with a smile, "Then what are we waiting for? Didn't we chase all the way here just for this moment? Long Hui's heart was pounding. Heavenly treasures were secondary, he just wanted to see Xia Ningchang's face. After holding back for so many days, how could he hold back? When Fei Chen smiled, although they've arrived at their destination, it seems that they haven't found what they're looking for. Young Master Long, please bear with it for a while longer. I promise that I won't let that woman fly away. Long Hui was a bit impatient. Last time in the small town, when Fei Chen had said the same thing. In the end, they had suffered heavy losses along the way. Now that he said the same thing again, Long Hui was a bit unhappy. But he couldn't appear too impatient, so after thinking about it, Long Hui could only say, then we'll wait at most for 2 more days. If they still haven't moved in 2 days, we'll take action. When Fei Chen nodded helplessly and sighed in his heart. Long Hui was a useless person who only had women in his heart. This kind of person definitely wouldn't have high achievements in the future. The night was dark and the wind was strong. Xia Ningchang, who was recovering in the valley, finally opened his eyes. His tiredness was gone, and he had clearly completely recovered. After thanking him, he and Yang Kai took out some food to eat and drink. It'll be midnight soon. At that time, this valley will be filled with yin qi. Junior brother, don't go too far away from me. Your cultivation isn't high, so the yuan qi in your body is limited. You can't afford to use it. Xia Ningchang sternly warned. Kai Yang nodded his head. Although he had a few dozen drops of yang liquid stored in his dantian, so he didn't need to worry about the problem of consumption, but Kai Yang wouldn't tell anyone. The two talked for a while longer when suddenly, there was a change in the valley. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any wind in a valley that was hundreds of feet below the ground and surrounded by rock walls. However, at this moment, the sound of a chilly wind whistling suddenly rang out in the valley. The sound was like a woman crying at night, causing one's hair to stand on end and their hearts to tremble in fear. Along with the sudden rise of the cold wind, a chill rose from the ground, stimulating Yang Kai's true yang secret art to involuntarily circulate. This kind of chill didn't seem like the chill brought about by the whistling winter wind. Instead, it had a kind of eerie ghostly chill that seeped into one's bones. Circulating the true yang secret art once again, Yang Kai finally dispelled the chill in his heart. Junior brother. Xia Ningchang suddenly pulled Yang Kai to his side, then took out a purple jade pendant and pinched it in his hand. As soon as he got close to Xia Ningchang, Yang Kai felt the surrounding chill suddenly disappear without a trace, and instead a warm feeling flowed around him. Stay close to me, don't go too far, this jade pendant can resist the invasion of yin qi. Xia Ningchang explained softly. Astonished, Kai Yang looked at the purple jade pendant and discovered that it was another artifact. Pinching it in the palm of Xia Ningchang's hand, she poured her world qi into it, causing the jade pendant to emit a faint light, dispelling the surrounding yin qi. Yang Kai was shocked. The bracelet on this senior sister's wrist was an artifact, and now the jade pendant she took out was also an artifact. Just how many did she have? Why are you staring at me? Xia Ningchang's face flushed red, her voice as soft as a mosquito's. Yang Kai stared blankly, only then did he realize that something was wrong. Because the jade pendant's range of effect was not very large, when the two stood together, their bodies were almost touching. Their arms and shoulders could clearly feel each other's body temperature, softness, and fragrance. Xia Ningchang must have felt the same. Such an intimate situation made it difficult for her. A layer of shyness slowly appeared in her eyes, and her earlobes and neck were flushed red. Your yuan qi is very precious. You can't waste it here. You can only use it to subdue the 9 yin yuan condensing dew. Xia Ningchang tried to find something to say, trying to divert his attention from Yang Kai's body temperature, but the more he thought about it, the more clearly he felt it. This is only the beginning. Wait until midnight. This entire valley will be filled with yin qi, junior brother. You must not leave me, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. But Yang Kai nodded slightly. The two of them didn't speak, just stood close to each other, quietly waiting for the arrival of midnight. A few heartbeats. He was in a state of panic. Xia Ningchang's body was getting hotter and hotter. For the first time in his life, he felt a prickling sensation, his whole body was itchy and unbearable, he wanted to move, but he didn't dare to move. In the end, his body was slightly trembling. Yang Kai noticed her embarrassment, looked at her blood-like skin, frowned and said, "How about I go out?" He was still very confident that he could resist the invasion of Yin Qi. After all, his true Yang Yuan Qi was the nemesis of Yin Qi. Even if it was consumed, it wouldn't consume much. This little senior sister's face was too thin. Yang Kai saw her so uncomfortable, he also felt very uncomfortable. Xia Ningchang quickly shook his head. "You just stand by my side. Don't go out." She insisted. Yang Kai was helpless. On the other side, the people of the blood group had already noticed the movement here, and all of them rushed over. Looking at the churning Yin Qi below, Wen Fei Chen looked pensive. Long Hui said excitedly, "Hall Master Wen, have they succeeded?" As long as Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang succeeded, then they could act without any scruples. When Fei Chen didn't immediately answer, he still carefully looked below. There was definitely something strange about the valley below, but with Wen Fei Chen's knowledge and experience, he still couldn't see it. Seeing Long Hui so anxious, Wen Fei Chen helplessly said, "Whether they succeeded or not, I don't know, but this is a sign that a treasure is about to appear. Why don't we?" Before Wen Fei Chen could finish his words, Long Hui impatiently interrupted. "No, wait, since the treasure is about to appear, it doesn't matter whether they want it or not. Hall Master Wen, let's deal with them now, it won't be too late to take the treasure later." When Fei Chen sighed, he could only nod. "Okay, let's do it." In the darkness of the night, Long Hui's eyes flashed with a sinister light. Thinking about how that masked beauty was about to be stripped of all her defenses, revealing her beautiful face in front of him, and then having pleasure under his crotch, Long Hui couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. "Yang Kai, oh Yang Kai, you dare to have ideas about my woman, I'll let you know the taste of regret. Later, I won't kill you, I'll let you see with your own eyes how I humiliate your woman, let her scream miserably, then I'll enjoy your anger and helplessness." The group of 13 people didn't care about hiding their whereabouts anymore. Under Wen Fei Chen's command, they uniformly jumped down the valley. The Storm House's tempered body disciple was the most pitiful. He didn't dare to jump down dozens of feet, but the impatient Long Hui kicked him down. He fell to his death on the spot. Nu Lang and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. They felt extremely humiliated. Chapter 92. The Bloody Battle Gang and Stormhouse people were making too much noise. The tempered body cultivator's scream before he died was incomparably mournful, and it spread far and wide in the night. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang heard it clearly. Their expressions changed and they turned to look in that direction. They really didn't know that there were so many enemies tailing them these days. When Fei Chen's tracking method was quite good, and the distance between them was also very safe, so they didn't have to worry about being discovered. Although Xia Ningchang was at the peak of separation and reunion boundary, she couldn't detect movement too far away. When Fei Chen's plan naturally went smoothly. Why would other people come here? Xia Ningchang frowned. She didn't quite understand. Yang Kai's expression also became cold. According to this little senior sister, this place was just an ordinary valley. Every year on the 7th day of the 7th month, there would be a change in heaven and earth, so it wouldn't attract anyone's attention. In other words, those people who were not far away either happened to be nearby at this time and noticed the change here, or they were premeditated and followed the two of them all the way here. The possibility of the latter was very high. Because there were so many people coming, some people actually fell to their deaths when they jumped down. This was the interior of Black Wind Mountain. If these people really only came to the mountain to find medicine and hunt monster beast, they wouldn't bring people with low strength, and it was also impossible for so many people to move together. There may be trouble. Yang Kai's thoughts turned quickly, and he realized something was wrong. Let's hide first. But Xia Ningchang nodded obediently. "Want to leave?" A cold shout suddenly came from behind, and then a figure suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. A palm strike struck, stopping Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang's steps. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang were shocked by the strength of the person who came, and they both jumped back to dodge, circulating the Yuan Qi in their bodies. and secretly became vigilant. Yang Kai didn't intend to shed all pretense of cordiality before he figured out the true intentions of this person. When Fei Chen was the first to come here and stop Yang Kai and Xianxia, seeing that they were behaving themselves, he did not attack again and just watched quietly. Yang Kai didn't catch when Fei Chen's eye, but the masked Xianxia made his eyes light up. He thought to himself, what a delicate and pure little girl. Although he couldn't see her face clearly, her eyes were as clear as stars, which was definitely not something an ordinary girl could have. What's more, this little girl's figure was also outstanding. Looking at those eyes, even when Fei Chen, who wasn't too fond of women, couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. If it was Long Hui, who knew what kind of ugly expression he would have revealed? The three of them were deadlocked for a long time. Yang Kai kept looking for a way out, but found that the middle-aged man in front of him was very strong. He just stood there, but it seemed that he was blocking all his escape routes. This person is a Yuan Qi expert, junior brother, don't act rashly. Xianxia saw through his thoughts and whispered to Yang Kai. Yuan Qi expert. Yang Kai slowly took a breath and suppressed the restlessness in his heart. After a while, the group of people from Bloody Group and Storm House finally arrived. They scattered around when Fei Chen and looked at Yang Kai and Xianxia with unkind eyes. Who are you people? Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked around, but found that he didn't recognize any of the people who came. His heart was full of doubts and couldn't help but ask. What he didn't know was that there were actually a few people in this group that he knew. However, their strength was too low and they were all eaten by demonic beasts on the way here. The only one left had fallen to his death when he jumped down just now. The person who wants your life. Long Hui flashed out from behind when Fei Chen and unceremoniously gave a cold smile. When he saw Xianxia, his pair of eyes immediately emitted a lush green light. Without the slightest scruple, he swept his gaze over Xianxia's body and praised, "Wonderful, wonderful! What a pure and lovely girl, this young master really didn't come here in vain." Xianxia's eyebrows furrowed, her face filled with disgust. Quietly she hid behind Kai Yang. Although her strength was much higher than Kai Yang's, she was still a girl who didn't know much about the world. Hiding like this didn't cause her any psychological burden. Instead, she felt it was natural. The two of them were very close to each other, so when they stood like this, Yang Kai suddenly felt two soft lumps pressing against his back. He couldn't help but quietly take a deep breath and straighten his back. In this kind of crisis, Yang Kai's mood was calm and didn't have any ripples. He pondered for a moment and said, "Do you have enmity with us?" Now Yang Kai was sure that the other side didn't come here by chance. They were definitely premeditated. Otherwise, they wouldn't be full of hostility as soon as they met. Were these people provoked by Treasurer Meng and his disciple, or did he provoke them himself? Yang Kai had to investigate clearly. After all, even if he died, he should at least die knowing the truth, right? Of course there is enmity. Long Hui felt that victory was in his hands, so he didn't want to hide his identity. "Little brat, let me tell you. I am Long Hui, the grandson of Long Zai Tian of Blood Group. You dared to have ideas about who may heir, but did you ever think that you would end up like this?" Yang Kai was stunned. He didn't expect that the one who came to find trouble with him would be such a person. The reason for this enmity was too groundless. He and Hu Mei Er had only met 3 times, so they didn't have much friendship. Unexpectedly, this person saw him as a rival in love. Besides lamenting about the fickleness of a villain, what else could Yang Kai say? However, when he mentioned Long Zai Tian, Yang Kai remembered the old man he had met in the Blood Group's mining area. At that time, Long Zai Tian had humiliated him. Yang Kai hadn't forgotten about it. After Long Hui finished speaking, Nu Lang also said gloomily, "Nu Tao is my younger brother." He and Xing Xiaofeng disappeared together. "Little brat, let me ask you, do you have anything to do with their disappearance?" Unexpectedly, 2 groups of people came to find trouble with him. Yang Kai immediately understood the whole story. He secretly sighed that he had a lot of face. The first time he left the sect, he was unexpectedly targeted by 2 groups of people. Moreover, they even sent such a big force. This time, He had implicated Xianxia. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai's face didn't show any fear. Even his expression was very calm. He reached out his hand and gently pinched Xianxia's fingers. He said in a low voice, "You don't have to worry about me. Find a chance to leave by yourself." Since he had caused this trouble himself, he couldn't let Xianxia suffer with him. If she left by herself, she might have a chance. Bringing him along would only be a burden. Although Yang Kai's voice was soft, the people opposite him still heard it clearly. Long Hui laughed loudly. "Want to leave? How could it be that easy? This young master has accompanied you in the mountains for so many days. How could there be no reward? Yang Kai, today you will die without a doubt. As for that little girl behind you, she will only become this young master's plaything. Don't worry, I won't kill her now. I won't let her die until I'm tired of playing with her." Yang Kai's face was cold. He shouted angrily, "Go!" At the same time, he turned around and grabbed Xianxia's arm. Under her shocked gaze, he used all his strength to throw her away. Wishful thinking. When Fei Chen smiled coldly, his figure flashed and suddenly appeared behind Xianxia. He hit her back with his palm. Chapter 93. When Fei Chen's attack wasn't meant to kill, but rather to block Xianxia's path of retreat. Xianxia's reaction wasn't slow either. Although he was caught off guard by Yang Kai's attack, he had already turned around before when Fei Chen's attack could reach him. He met when Fei Chen's attack head-on and used the latter's momentum to lightly float back to Yang Kai's side. Sigh. Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene. With an Yuan-Chi realm expert guarding this place and the opponent's well-trained troops, it was likely that this was a premeditated plan. This time, it would be difficult for them to escape. Hall Master One, capture this girl for me. If she dares to resist. Long Hui smiled sinisterly. It's fine to break her arms and legs as long as you don't damage her face. I want to see what kind of peerless beauty is hidden under this veil. When Fei Chen chuckled, "Young Master Long, please rest assured. I won't let you down." Originally, he was a little worried that Long Hui would blame him for injuring Xianxia in battle, but since he said that it was fine to break her arms and legs, what else did Wen Fei Chen have to worry about? This young master of the Long family was quite excited. At least he had some self-awareness and knew that he wasn't a match for this girl. If he could break her arms and legs, then he could do whatever he wanted. The conversation between the two was overheard by Yang Kai and Xianxia, and their eyes flashed with anger. When Fei Chen laughed loudly, "Little girl, you also heard young Master Long's words. If you know what's good for you, then obediently allow yourself to be captured. I promise I won't hurt you. If you insist on resisting, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Xianxia spat. "Don't even think about it." Good. When Fei Chen smiled coldly. "You asked for it." As soon as he finished speaking, his body soared into the air like a swallow, and both of his palms struck out. The strength of an Yuan-Chi realm expert erupted fiercely, and only the sound of a tiger's roar could be heard. The palm wind that was pushed out suddenly transformed into tiger heads, baring their fangs as they pounced towards Xianxia. Feeling the power contained in these palms, Xianxia's expression also became serious. Her two slender hands danced and quickly pointed a few finger winds to meet the palms. Then she made a strange hand seal and pointed at the sapphire on her forehead. Her Yuan-Chi violently surged. Although the power of those finger winds wasn't small, they couldn't stop Wen Fei Chen's attack. They only managed to slightly slow down the speed of those tiger heads before they were completely swallowed up. The next moment, the attack arrived in front of Xianxia. This unforeseen event happened so quickly that by the time Yang Kai reacted, it was already too late. Those tiger heads bit towards Xianxia one after another. Just as they were about to seriously injure her, the sapphire on her forehead suddenly fluctuated with a mysterious ripple. Along with this ripple, a semicircular light curtain suddenly appeared, like a large inverted bowl, completely covering her and Yang Kai. When Fei Chen's attack finally arrived, but as soon as those majestic tiger heads touched the light curtain, they whimpered and disappeared without a trace. Xia Ningchang's body did not move, her face was as calm as the wind. When Fei Chen landed on the ground, his pair of eyes staring at the light curtain in shock, and cried out involuntarily, "A heaven-grade artifact." As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes burned, including Long Hui, who had a lustful look in his eyes. What? Long Hui finally turned his attention away from Xia Ningchang and turned his head to look at Wen Fei Chen, his voice slightly trembling. "Hall Master Wen, what did you just say?" When Fei Chen's face trembled, his eyes bursting with traces of greed, he swallowed his saliva and said, "A heaven-grade artifact. To be able to easily block my attack? This is without a doubt a heaven-grade artifact." Really? Long Hui couldn't help but become excited. He didn't expect that this time, he just wanted to get rid of Yang Kai, this small character, but unexpectedly, he unintentionally inserted a willow tree into a shade. Not only would he obtain a beauty, but he would also obtain a heaven-grade artifact. Moreover, it was a defensive-type artifact, which was more valuable than an offensive-type artifact. A heaven-grade artifact was priceless. The blood group only had one, and it was still in the hands of Hu Man. If he gave this artifact to his grandfather, then his grandfather's strength would rise to a whole new level, and perhaps even Hu Man wouldn't be his opponent. Snatch it, he must snatch it. Long Hui excitedly shouted, "Hall Master Wen, if you can snatch this artifact in the future, the position of Blood Group's deputy leader will be yours." When Fei Chen's expression brightened, "Many thanks for Master Long's favor." Although he said so, when Fei Chen knew that to break the defense of this heaven-grade artifact, it would not be so easy. Looking at how his attack was completely ineffective, when Fei Chen knew that this was a difficult bone to chew. Fortunately, this little girl's strength was not high, so she definitely wouldn't be able to maintain this barrier for a long time. As long as he continued to attack, there would be an opportunity to break this barrier. Begin. Thinking of this, when Fei Chen lightly shouted and took the initiative to attack the light barrier. At the same time, the other experts of the blood group also fiercely displayed their skills. In a flash, layers of ripples appeared on the light barrier, but Xia Ningchang and Yang Kai, who were protected by the light barrier, were completely unharmed. All the attacks were blocked by the light barrier. This sudden change of events gave Yang Kai a little hope of escaping. His eyes flashed with a shrewd light, and his mind was rapidly turning, trying to find a way out before the light barrier was broken. "Junior brother, are you afraid?" Xia Ningchang suddenly asked. Yang Kai turned to look at her. "We may die. Are you afraid?" "What am I afraid of? You don't need to be afraid." Yang Kai responded, and looked at Long Hui coldly from more than 10 feet away. If they could capture this person, then they would have a bargaining chip. However, to break through the blockade of so many experts of the blood group and capture Long Hui, this was not an easy task. Even if Xia Ningchang took action, she would not be able to do it. "I am not afraid." Xia Ningchang gently smiled. They still don't know what they are going to face. Yang Kai was stunned by her words, but before he could understand the meaning of her words, the whole valley suddenly changed. It was midnight. July 7th Yin Qi Gathering. This was the place where the 9 Yins converged. Suddenly, waves of cold Yin Qi emerged from the ground one after another. This Yin Qi surged as if strange giant hands were reaching out from the ground one after another. They kept climbing upwards, causing people to feel terrified just by looking at them. In the blink of an eye, the temperature of the whole valley dropped, and the bone-chilling cold made everyone unable to help but shiver. The experts of the blood group who were besieging the light barrier felt something was wrong, and hurriedly circulated their yuan qi to resist the erosion of the yin qi. Fortunately, although the yin qi made people feel uncomfortable, it was not lethal. As long as they circulated their yuan qi to resist it, there would not be any major hindrance. Even the small characters of the Stormhouse could resist it, not to mention the people of the blood group. However, if they stayed here for a long time, perhaps their yuan qi would be exhausted, and at that time, they would be frozen to death. After a while, the whole valley was covered by the yin qi. Xia Ningchang suddenly moved. Her figure was graceful, as if she was dancing, accompanied by a strange hand sign. The yuan qi in her body was divided into countless and scattered in all directions. Chapter 94. Along with Xia Ningchang's actions, the dense yin qi in the entire mountain valley reacted. Looking down from above, it looked like a pot of boiling water. The yin qi seemed to have a life of its own as it kept rolling and squirming in the mountain valley. The scene was extremely terrifying. Not good. When Fei Chen screamed. Although he didn't know what Xia Ningchang was doing, as a Yuan Qi 5th stage expert, he still had some insight. This woman had probably arranged some kind of spirit array in this mountain valley and was now activating it. If he really asked her to activate this unknown formation, he was afraid that there would be a change in the situation this time. Come on. Quickly break this light curtain for me. When Fei Chen roared. He wanted to capture Xia Ningchang before the spirit array was activated. Otherwise, everything would be over. You guys come here too, or I will kill you right now. When Fei Chen and the rest of the Storm House people shouted, Nu Lang and the others didn't dare to hesitate. Originally, in this kind of fierce battle, they were completely useless. They also knew their own strength, so they just stood aside and watched the show. However, with Wen Fei Chen's order, they couldn't help but participate. These people's attacks were very weak, but they could more or less consume the defense of the light curtain. The group of 12 people had already used all of their strength to attack the semicircular light screen without any regard for their lives. Ripples appeared on the light curtain one after another. It seemed to be on the verge of collapsing, but it was still as firm as before. Inside the light curtain, Yang Kai was burning with anxiety. He wanted to help, but his strength was too low, so he couldn't do anything. He could only protect Xia Ningchang. In case the light curtain was broken, he could do his part. Xia Ningchang's movements were getting faster and faster. Her two hands had already turned into afterimages. The cold wind in the mountain valley was getting fiercer and fiercer. It sounded like the cries of ghosts and the howls of wolves, which made people feel terrified. When Fei Chen's dignified expression contained a trace of greed, he found that he had still underestimated the grade of this defensive artifact. This was at least a heaven-grade high-rank defensive artifact, otherwise it would have been impossible for it to last so long without breaking. Heaven-grade high-rank, it was enough to withstand the full blow of an immortal ascension boundary master. Having this thing was equivalent to having an extra life. After a full incense stick worth of time, a small crack suddenly appeared on the light screen. Following the appearance of the crack, Xia Ningchang's face turned pale. In order to activate this defensive secret treasure, she had consumed a lot of Yuan Qi, and now she had to multitask to activate the previous arrangement. The Yuan Qi in her body was like a flood that had broken through the dam, fiercely flowing out. Seeing a glimmer of hope, Wen Fei Chen urged everyone to attack while he also used his ultimate move. The Yuan Qi on his body began to surge, and he pushed his palm forward in a seemingly calm and slow manner. As his palm struck the light screen, the entire light screen shook violently. Xia Ningchang's delicate body trembled, and her face turned even paler. The light screen finally cracked like a spider's web. Haha. When Fei Chen laughed loudly. He was confident that as long as he struck out with his palm again, this light screen would be completely broken. But before he could strike out with his next palm, the churning yin qi in the mountain valley suddenly calmed down, and the ghostly cries and howls also disappeared without a trace in an instant. Xia Ningchang's clear eyes flashed like stars as she shouted, "Seal!" At this moment, Xia Ningchang's preparations were finally complete. In the sky, the sound of chains being swung suddenly rang out, like a soul-stirring melody. Everyone raised their heads in shock and saw several thick and black chains that were several meters long hovering in the air. These chains were completely formed from dense yin qi and emitted a ghastly coldness that caused one's heart to palpitate. These yin qi chains flew above the heads of the Blood Group and Storm Hall members, and in the next moment, as if they had a mind of their own, they rushed down. When Fei Chen's complexion changed greatly, knowing that he was still a step too late, and hurriedly struck out with his palm towards the light screen. At the same time, Xia Ningchang's body shook, and she no longer had the strength to stimulate her heaven-grade artifact. This palm strike went straight towards Xia Ningchang without any hindrance. At this critical moment, Yang Kai, who had been vigilant to the side, finally found an opportunity to act. Before the palm strike hit Xianxia, he hurriedly pulled her back, but she was still swept by the edge of the palm strike, her delicate body trembling, and her face suddenly turned pale. Yang Kai picked her up by the waist and ran away without looking back. The number of enemies was too high, and their strength was too strong. He was not stupid enough to face them head-on. Just as Yang Kai was carrying Xianxia to escape, the Yin Qi chains finally entangled the experts of the blood group. There were a total of 8 chains, when Fei Chen was the focus of Xianxia's attention and was targeted by 3 of the chains. The remaining 5 chains were also targeted by the separation and reunion boundary and Qi transformation boundary experts of the blood group. The people who were entangled by the chains were horrified, thinking that their lives were over. Who would have thought that after entangling them, the chains would directly enter their bodies, and the 8 chains would disappear? When Fei Chen suddenly felt that his Yuan Qi boundary strength was suppressed by an invisible force, and could not help but groan, opening his mouth, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The 3 separation and reunion boundary experts and the Qi transformation disciple were also the same. Their complexions instantly became extremely pale, and they all vomited blood. The remaining Qi transformation disciple unexpectedly lost his breath in an instant, and fell to the ground dead. What happened? Long Hui was furious. He just saw that the situation was good, and was about to destroy the opponent's heaven-grade secret treasure. In his heart, he was thinking about how to humiliate Xianxia, but in the blink of an eye, one of his own side died, 5 were seriously injured, and even when Fei Chen was dispirited. How could Long Hui not be angry? The duck that was in his mouth flew away like that. Master Long, please calm down. When Fei Chen resisted the piercing pain, circulating his Yuan Qi to expel the cold, and weakly explained, I'm afraid that woman had set up a trap here, and this time she used the power of the array to deal with us. We were not paying attention and let her succeed. Trash, a bunch of trash. Long Hui flew into a rage, cursing loudly, so many people to deal with one person, and yet we were all defeated. When Fei Chen's face flashed with a trace of anger, but he suppressed it and said, although we were tricked, that woman is definitely not in a good condition. I'm afraid that she doesn't have the slightest bit of Yuan Qi. If we can catch up with them at this time, they are just lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Long Hui impatiently said, then what are we waiting for? Quickly chase after them. When Fei Chen's eyes turned to the group of small fries from Stormhouse, and said with a gloomy face, I'll give you a chance to live, if you can capture that woman. When Fei Chen will be responsible for safely leaving this place. Just now, Xianxia's 8 chains were all aimed at the experts of Blood Group, but the group of people from Stormhouse were not injured. There were 5 people who entered the valley alive, and now there were still 5. Compared to the Blood Group, their condition was much better. Chapter 95. How could Nu Lang dare to disobey when Fei Chen's order? No matter how weak the other party looked, they were not someone they could deal with. They looked at each other and Nu Lang asked, Senior One, are you sure that the girl has no strength to fight back? Absolutely sure. When Fei Chen answered patiently, if you chase after her now, any one of you will be able to capture her and bring her back to Master Long. There will be many benefits for you. Then we will chase after her. Nu Lang's eyes flashed with madness and hatred. These days, he had suffered a lot from the Blood Group. Many of his brothers from Stormhouse had died, and none of the body-tempering realm had survived. His anger could not be vented on Wen Fei Chen, so he could only shift it to Yang Kai and Xianxia. Xianxia had no strength to fight back, so how could they put Yang Kai in their eyes? After the people from Stormhouse disappeared into the gloomy mountain valley, Wen Fei Chen looked at the disciples of the Blood Group and said, you guys go too. Don't let that girl escape. She definitely has a strong backer behind her. Once this news is leaked out, our Blood Group will be in big trouble. Although these people were also very weak, this was an important matter, so they could only force themselves to go out and chase. At this time, only Long Hui and Wen Fei Chen were left in the valley. Long Hui's tone was slightly gentler as he asked, Hall Master Wen, what is going on? Wen Fei Chen smiled bitterly, I don't know what method that girl used, but my strength has been suppressed to Qi transformation level 3. The 3 chains that entered my body locked my Yuan Qi and Dantian. There is such a method? Long Hui's face was aghast. When Fei Chen nodded, if I am like this, then the other disciples are even worse. They can only use less than 30% of their strength. Then what should we do? Long Hui's face showed uneasiness. Don't worry. When Fei Chen shook his head. I didn't lie to those small fries from Stormhouse. That woman used such a powerful method and maintained her defensive secret treasure for a long time. Her Yuan Qi has already been depleted. Plus, she was hit by my palm. She has no choice but to surrender. As long as we find them, what belongs to you, young Master Long, will still be yours. Hearing this, Long Hui finally let out a sigh of relief. Rolling his eyes, he said, just now, Long Hui was too angry and his tone was a bit harsh. I hope Hall Master Wen won't take it to heart. After this matter is settled, I will definitely tell Grandfather about Hall Master Wen's hard work. Young Master Long, you're too serious. We're family. When Fei Chen smiled with satisfaction, but now, I would like to ask young Master Long to protect me. I will see if I can remove the Yin Qi chains in my body. Alright. While they were talking, they didn't mention Yang Kai at all. In their eyes, Xia Ningchang was the troublesome one. Yang Kai was nothing. Now that Xia Ningchang had lost all her Yuan Qi, she was like a hedgehog that had been stripped of all its thorns. Anyone could easily take her down. At this moment, Yang Kai had already brought Xia Ningchang to the edge of the valley. There was a crack that only one person could enter at a time. Xia Ningchang was placed inside, while Yang Kai blocked the entrance. In front of the crack, there was a bush that blocked the entrance. The two of them were squeezed together, almost merging into one. Don't talk. Someone is coming. Yang Kai held Xia Ningchang with one hand and whispered. Xia Ningchang's face was pale. She slightly nodded and held her breath. After a short while, Nu Lang and his people flashed in front of them. The sound of their footsteps gradually faded away. The two sides were only a dozen or so feet apart. However, the night was dark and the wind was strong. The Yin Qi in the valley was thick, which allowed Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang to hide perfectly. After Nu Lang and his people were far away, Xia Ningchang couldn't hold it in anymore. She spat out a mouthful of blood, which stained the scarf covering her face red. When Fei Chen's palm had hurt her after all. Are you okay? Yang Kai nervously asked. Help me get the pellet. Xia Ningchang's voice was weak. Her body softened and collapsed on the ground. She didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Where is it? In my arms. Yang Kai quickly put his hand into her arms. However, he quickly retracted his hand and looked at his little senior sister in front of him. Xia Ningchang was also looking at him. Her pale face blushed. Her body was slightly trembling. When Yang Kai had gently touched her chest, she had felt a lightning-like numbness from her chest to the bottom of her heart. She had almost fainted on the spot. Bear with it. Yang Kai knew that this was a critical moment. He didn't hesitate anymore. He whispered to Xia Ningchang. Then, he put his hand into Xia Ningchang's clothes again. It was summer. Xia Ningchang didn't wear much. Except for the outer skirt, she only wore underwear. When Yang Kai put his hand into her clothes, he felt like he had entered a paradise that made people forget to return. She was plump and soft, full of amazing elasticity. It wasn't small, but it wasn't too big either. He couldn't cover it with his palm. From time to time, his 5 fingers would come into contact with those small protrusions. Every time they touched, Xia Ningchang's body would tremble slightly. Feeling each other's burning body temperature, in just a few breaths of time, whether it was Kai Yang or Xia Ningchang, both of them were short of breath and their blood was rapidly flowing through their bodies. Yang Kai was fine. Although he was a bit embarrassed, he was still a man. He thickened his skin and pretended that nothing had happened. On the other hand, Xia Ningchang's clear eyes seemed to contain a pool of spring water. Her expression was shy and angry. The breath she exhaled was fragrant and indescribably attractive. Don't think too much. Yang Kai comforted her as he carefully searched. Xia Ningchang finally couldn't help it. She held her breath and said weakly, "It's on the other side." Yang Kai suddenly came back to his senses. He was wondering why he couldn't find it after searching for so long. It turned out that it wasn't on this side. What a mess. He reached into the other side and searched deeply. In the end, he found several small bottles. During this time, he didn't know how many times Xianxia shook them. "Which one?" Yang Kai asked. "The one in the middle." Xianxia's voice was very weak. She signaled with her eyes. Yang Kai quickly picked up the bottle in the middle and poured out some pills. He lifted the cloth covering his face and stuffed all of them into Xianxia's mouth. This little senior sister had a special constitution. The sacred spirit medicine body was the best human body cauldron in the world. No matter how many pills she ate, there would be no side effects. After several pills entered her stomach, Xianxia closed her eyes and meditated. Yang Kai turned around and vigilantly watched for any movements outside. After waiting for about an hour, Xianxia gradually recovered. She opened her eyes and shyly looked at Yang Kai's back. Thinking back to what had just happened, Xianxia's cheeks burned. Although she knew she had no choice, she still wanted to find a hole to hide in. It was too embarrassing. As if sensing Xianxia's gaze, the vigilant Yang Kai suddenly turned around. When he saw that Xianxia had finished cultivating, he couldn't help but sigh. "Are you okay?" Xianxia's eyes flashed with panic. She quickly looked away. "Although my life isn't in danger, I can't fight for a while." "It's good that you're okay." Yang Kai finally relaxed. Chapter 96. Not daring to think about those shameful things, Xianxia turned to Advisor 4 and asked, "How did you find this hiding place?" This place could be said to be extremely hidden. It was simply a great place to hide. In the dark night, how did this junior brother find this place so accurately? Yang Kai grinned. "When you left earlier, I was wandering around and accidentally found this place. I didn't expect it to become a life-saving place." "This is our luck." Xianxia sighed. "You rest well. When things calm down, I'll find a way to take you out of here." Xianxia's expression darkened, and he slowly shook his head. "We can't leave. Where there's a will, there's a way." "Why can't we leave?" Yang Kai chuckled. "Because I activated the 9-in-8 locks array. Now this valley has been sealed off by the array. Before dawn, no one can leave here." Yang Kai suddenly realized, "So you left before to set up the array?" Xianxia nodded slightly. "It was originally used to deal with the 9-in-yuan condensing dew, but I had no choice but to activate it ahead of time." "Those eerie chains are the result of the array?" Yang Kai recalled the scene just now. "Could they have been killed already?" Yang Kai's eyes lit up. If those experts were all dead, then they could definitely escape this time. Xianxia shook his head. "No, this array is not focused on killing. Those people are not weak, they definitely can't be killed. At most, it can only kill one or two of the weaker ones." "That's not bad." Yang Kai sighed in pity. "But even though it can't kill them, their bodies have been invaded by the yin qi chains. I'm afraid most of their strength will be sealed. They won't be able to recover before dawn. I'll see if I can recover some strength before dawn, then we can escape from here together." Yang Kai suddenly stared at Xianxia with a pair of aggressive eyes, his voice somewhat agitated as he asked, "You said that their strength will be sealed? How many are sealed?" Xianxia pondered for a moment. "At least 60% to 70%. About 80% of that Yuan Qi Realm Master should have been sealed. In other words, they can't use their full strength right now." Yang Kai looked excited and eager to try. Xianxia looked at him nervously. "What do you want to do? Even if their strength is sealed, they are not people you can deal with. Junior brother, don't be reckless." She knew what Yang Kai was thinking. Yang Kai chuckled, his eyes filled with eagerness. "How would we know if we don't try? Don't forget, this is the 9th-in congregation ground. Their strength is now sealed, and they still have to resist the invasion of yin energy. They are probably weaker than you expected. But there are so many of them." Xianxia grabbed Yang Kai's arm and shook his head. "Don't be impulsive. Yang Kai gently patted her hand. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. If we keep hiding here, we will be discovered sooner or later. Once we become a turtle in a jar, we can only sit and wait for death. If I take the initiative to attack, I'm afraid there is still a little hope. No. Xia Ningchang shook her head like a rattledrum. I am senior sister, you have to listen to me. If you go out now, you won't be able to resist those people, and the yin energy in this valley will consume all of your yuan qi. Little senior sister, if you want to live, don't stop me. You saw that Long Hui's face. You should know what will happen to you if you fall into his hands. Xia Ningchang's body suddenly trembled. That's it, don't stop me. Yang Kai broke free from Xia Ningchang's grasp. If you insist on going out, take this with you. Xia Ningchang was powerless to stop him. If Yang Kai really wanted to go out, she couldn't stop him in her current state. She could only hand the jade pendant to him. You need this more than I do. Yang Kai refused. Don't worry. Although I am only at the 4th level of the initial element realm, I have a way to recover my yuan qi. The yin energy in this valley won't affect me. You, on the other hand, if someone finds this place, can you stop them? I have already recovered some of my yuan qi. I can activate the defensive secret treasure. Those people's strength has been greatly reduced, so they won't be a threat to me. Xia Ningchang nodded. Then there is nothing to worry about. Yang Kai slowly got up and walked outside. After being powerless for so long, it was finally time to move his fists and feet. Yang Kai's expression was somewhat ferocious. After taking a few steps, Yang Kai stopped and said softly, Little senior sister, if I don't come back at dawn, you have to quickly leave by yourself. Xia Ningchang's heart clenched as an inexplicable pain spread. Yang Kai turned his head and smiled. If I can come back, can you promise me one thing? What is it? Xia Ningchang held back the sadness in her heart and asked. Let's talk about it when I come back. Yang Kai laughed and walked out of the crack in the mountain. He went outside and made some arrangements to cover the crack. Then he looked around and plunged into the darkness. Only Xia Ningchang was left behind, lonely and desolate. There were still 3 to 4 hours until dawn, but there were more than a dozen enemies. This was definitely going to be a tough battle. In the dark forest, someone was running quickly. The footsteps were made by 2 people. Yang Kai hid behind a big tree, quietly waiting for the people to come. He didn't know which side these 2 people were from, and he didn't know what kind of strength they had. He could only make some inquiries first before making any plans. If these 2 people were too strong, Yang Kai could only avoid them and find a soft persimmon to pinch. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and someone's voice could be heard. Brother Xiong, where are they hiding? How come we haven't found them after searching for so long? The other person said, Junior brother, don't worry. Brother Nu and those bastards from the blood group are also looking for them. Yang Kai won't be able to hide for long. Let's just pretend. Maybe they have already captured Yang Kai and that girl. The junior brother nodded. That's true. It's a pity for that girl. She seems to be very beautiful. If she falls into Long Hui's hands, I don't know how she will be ruined. Brother Xiong sneered. Long Hui is a lecherous person. He is destined to have no great achievements. In the future, when we grow up, there will be a time when we can get back our face. As they were talking, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. The 2 Stormhouse disciples suddenly stopped. Brother Xiong angrily shouted, Who is it? A light laugh came from the other side. Aren't you looking for me? Yang Kai. Brother Xiong was overjoyed. He didn't expect to meet Yang Kai, but he didn't expect him to throw himself into a trap. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Brother Xiong was excited, and so was Yang Kai. Yang Kai already knew their identity from their conversation. Of the 5 people from Stormhouse, except for Nu Lang who was at Qi Transforming Stage 1, the rest were all at Initial Element Stage. Yang Kai wasn't afraid of a cultivator at this stage. Chapter 97. These 2 Stormhouse disciples originally had no enmity with Yang Kai, but along the way, several of their junior brothers had died. They couldn't find Wen for revenge, so they could only blame it on Yang Kai. Now that they had met their enemy, it was natural that their eyes would turn red. Brother Xiong looked at Yang Kai with a mocking smile and said coldly, "You have guts. You actually dared to throw yourself into the trap. Where is the girl you saved? Beat me and I'll tell you." Yang Kai cracked his knuckles, shook his neck, and slowly walked towards the two people. Brother Xiong sneered, "Junior brother, you don't know what's good for you. I'll go teach him a lesson." As he spoke, he unsheathed the long sword at his waist and charged towards Kai Yang to attack. Brother Xiong had the strength of initial element realm level 6, while Yang Kai was only at initial element realm level 4. There was already a gap of 2 levels between them, not to mention that Brother Xiong was holding a sharp weapon, so he felt that he had the upper hand. This sword was just a test, and Brother Xiong didn't expect to kill Yang Kai in one move. In the darkness, the sword flashed, and Yang Kai dodged sideways. He raised his palms and began to fight with Brother Xiong of Stormhouse. Using his palms against the sword, Yang Kai was restrained in every way. He kept retreating, and by the time Brother Xiong stabbed out for the 9th time, he had already retreated more than 10 steps. Brother Xiong laughed loudly. "A grain of rice dares to show off its brilliance. Yang Kai, give me your life." The previous test had allowed him to understand Yang Kai's details, so it was naturally time to kill him. The yuan qi in his body began to circulate, and Brother Xiong's long sword faintly emitted the sound of wind and thunder. Thunder wind chant. Brother Xiong majestically shouted out his sword move. Suddenly, an arc of light appeared on his long sword, and with unparalleled sharpness, it stabbed towards Yang Kai's chest at a speed that he couldn't dodge. As expected, Yang Kai couldn't dodge, but there was no trace of fear on his face. Instead, he raised his palm and slapped the sword. Brother Xiong sneered. He thought to himself, "My sword is now filled with thunder power. If a mere initial element 4th level cultivator like you really touches it, I'm afraid you'll be electrocuted and paralyzed. At that time, you'll be at my mercy." Thinking of this, Brother Xiong did not withdraw his move at all. Instead, his sword moves became faster and faster. Yang Kai shouted. His palms suddenly became extremely red, as if there was a burning flame. A wave of hot air rushed towards Brother Xiong. Not only did it dispel the cold around him, it also made him feel as if he had fallen into a sea of fire. Clang! The sword rang. Yang Kai's palm hit the sword, and the arc of light on the sword suddenly disappeared. With this slap, the long sword also deviated from its direction and pierced past Yang Kai's shoulder without hurting him at all. Brother Xiong was shocked. In this confrontation, his yuan qi was actually not a match for the opponent. He thought to himself, "Isn't he only at the initial element 4th level? Why is the yuan qi in his body more vigorous than mine? Moreover, the burning yuan qi in his palm just now was too pure. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to extinguish my thunder power." Panicking, Brother Xiong hurriedly withdrew his sword and retreated. He was preparing to adjust his breathing and slowly attack again, but how could Yang Kai give him this opportunity? Taking advantage of the time when Brother withdrew his sword, Yang Kai took a step forward, and under Brother Xiong's shocked and frightened gaze, Yang Kai pointed a finger at his heart. Knowing that the number of enemies he had to deal with was not small, Yang Kai was quite decisive. He did not hesitate to use a drop of yang liquid to kill his opponent in one strike. Brother Xiong's body suddenly stopped moving, leaving only the whistling of the cold wind in the valley, as if crying and complaining. The Stormhouse junior brother who was on the side did not understand for a moment, and could not help but softly call out, "Brother Xiong, Brother Xiong." Before his voice fell, Brother Xiong's body suddenly fell straight down. Yang Kai laughed nastily. "Your Xiong brother is waiting for you on the road to the underworld." The junior brother was stunned, and immediately let out a strange cry and ran away. His strength was slightly inferior to Brother Xiong's. He was only at the initial element boundary 5th level. Yang Kai had killed Brother Xiong effortlessly, so wouldn't it be easy to deal with him? "You think you can escape?" Yang Kai sneered, holding Brother Xiong's sword in his hand, and chased after him. It had to be said that the dense yin qi in the valley was a great help to Yang Kai. Under the corrosion of the yin qi, everyone's strength would be reduced. Only Yang Kai practiced the true yang secret art. The yuan qi in his body was the nemesis of the yin qi, so he did not need to worry about being affected. He just needed to consume a bit of true yang yuan qi to dispel the chill. Although the Stormhouse junior brother was at the initial element boundary 5th level, the strength he could display in this valley was lower than Yang Kai's. After chasing for a short time, Yang Kai closed the distance between the two of them to about 10 meters, which was more than enough distance for him. Yang Kai suddenly threw the sword in his hand as he ran. Hearing the sound of wind behind him, the Stormhouse junior brother nimbly made a dodging action, narrowly avoiding the sword. But with this delay, the distance of 10 feet was suddenly reduced to 0. Unable to escape, the Stormhouse junior brother decisively turned around and pulled out his weapon to fight Yang Kai. But a red light flashed in front of him, and he instinctively blocked it with his weapon. With a catching sound, the steel weapon in his hand was cut in half by the red light, as fragile as tofu. The next moment he felt a heat on his neck, as if something had cut through it. Yang Kai stopped, a thin blood-red blade as thin as a cicada's wing flashing on his fingertips. A drop of blood rolled down the blade. The Stormhouse junior brother gulped and stared blankly at Yang Kai. He pointed at him, but couldn't say anything. After a few breaths, his head suddenly flew up into the sky, and a bloody mist burst out from his neck. Kill 2 people first. This battle was effortless, so easy that Yang Kai didn't even use unyielding will. In the past battles, Yang Kai always had to use this mysterious martial skill to defeat his enemies. But this time, he discovered that even if he didn't use this martial skill, he still had the strength to kill people above his level. Yang Kai felt the need to re-examine himself. Just as Yang Kai was about to quickly leave the scene, he heard the sound of clothes flapping in the wind from both sides. There were 2 people quickly approaching from the left, and 1 from the right. It should be the strange cry of the junior brother that had attracted them. They were about 100 feet away from him. Yang Kai originally wanted to hide, but after thinking carefully, he suddenly quickly approached from the left. If he wasn't wrong, the people coming should be the remaining 3 people from Stormhouse. They might have separated to make it easier to find him and Xianning Chang, but they weren't too far away from each other. Now that the remaining 3 people were all here, Yang Kai naturally couldn't ask for more. The strength of the Stormhouse people was much lower than that of the Blood Group people, so he could use them to test his own strength. Chapter 98. However, among these 3 people, Nu Lang was the cultivator at Qi transforming stage 1st level, so it would be a bit troublesome to deal with him. Therefore, Yang Kai had to first deal with the other 2 initial element stage Stormhouse disciples before he could have a good fight with Nu Lang. He wanted to see if he, as an initial element stage 4th level, had the ability to defeat a Qi transforming stage opponent. Yang Kai's fighting spirit was high, and his blood and Qi were rolling. Yang Kai's prediction was correct. The 2 people on the left were indeed Stormhouse disciples. Their strength was about the same as the 2 people from before, so even if they were stronger, they wouldn't be that much stronger. Hearing their junior brothers shout, the 2 people hadn't yet arrived at the scene of the accident when they saw a person dashing towards them. Who is it? The 2 Stormhouse disciples stopped and vigilantly looked at the person. Yang Kai didn't answer. His speed suddenly increased, and he fiercely rushed towards them. Feeling Yang Kai's killing intent and hostility, how could the 2 people not react? They cried out in alarm, "It's Yang Kai!" As soon as they finished speaking, their weapons were already in their hands, and they fiercely attacked Yang Kai from the left and right. Yang Kai's fighting spirit was very strong. Facing the 2 people's attacks, he didn't retreat at all. His body was like lightning, and the blood-red blade on his fingertips flew out, fiercely shooting towards one of the 2 people. That person raised his weapon to block, but how could an ordinary weapon block this blade made from a drop of yang liquid? As soon as they came into contact, the Stormhouse disciple's weapon was directly cut off. Fortunately, this person's reaction wasn't slow. In a panic, he suddenly dodged, barely avoiding the fatal blow, and let the blade fly past his waist. With a piercing sound, this person screamed. He felt as if his waist was branded by a soldering iron, and the air was suddenly filled with the smell of burnt flesh. "Brother!" The other person's expression changed, and the attack he was about to attack suddenly shrank back a bit. In a life-and-death battle, his retreat was equal to exposing himself to Yang Kai's attack. How could Yang Kai be polite to him? Casually blocking the sharp edge of the opponent's weapon, he pressed his palm on the opponent's chest. Vigorous and scorching hot true Yang Yuan Qi poured into the opponent's heart meridian. The opponent's eyes bulged, and he flew out in response. He fell to the ground, spasming for a moment, and then stopped moving. He was actually killed in a single exchange, even faster than that senior brother Xiong from before. Yang Kai's attack was successful, but before he could pull back, the Stormhouse disciple who was still alive actually swung his sword at him. Unable to dodge, Yang Kai could only instinctively tighten his muscles. Swoosh! The sword flashed, and a bloody wound appeared on his abdomen. Pain spread from the wound and blood seeped out. Yang Kai was unmoved, and only a crazy and bloodthirsty smile appeared on his face. He turned his head and looked at the opponent. That person saw his own junior brother die in front of him, and in his anger, how could he care about anything else? There was only one thought in his mind: to kill Yang Kai and avenge his junior brother. After his attack succeeded, he stabbed again, aiming for Yang Kai's throat. Yang Kai raised his arm to block, and the sword stabbed about an inch into his arm. It was pressed against the bone, but there was no way for it to go any further. Letting the blood drip down, Yang Kai grinned maliciously at him. In the darkness, 2 rows of snow-white fangs were exposed, like a fierce beast that was choosing its prey. At this moment, Yang Kai's entire body was filled with an evil aura. Crazy, excited, and bloodthirsty evil aura. That smile was even more chilling. This Stormhouse disciple, who was still alive, had never seen such a person. After being stabbed twice by him, he was still able to laugh. Was this person crazy? He was frightened, and wanted to jump back. In a battle of life and death, being frightened by the enemy's aura, how could he survive? Yang Kai raised his leg and kicked him in the crotch. The sound of something being kicked was heard. The man immediately bent his waist and knelt on the ground, his face pale. Pulling out the long sword that was stuck in his arm, Kai Yang threw it down, impaling him on the spot. 2 more killed. Swoosh! At this moment, a person finally appeared from the right. It was Nu Lang. These 5 people of Stormhouse were divided into 3 groups, searching for Yang Kai and Xianing Chong, but they didn't expect that Yang Kai would defeat them one by one. At first glance, Nu Lang saw his 2 dead junior brothers on the ground. In a blink of an eye, he glared at Yang Kai and asked, "Did you kill them?" Yang Kai turned his head to look at him. His face was crazy but calm. "Seems like everybody underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have this ability." Nu Lang's face was extremely gloomy. He pressed down the anger in his heart, took a deep breath and said, "I have something to ask you." "No need to ask. I killed Nu Lang and Qing Xiaofeng. You didn't guess wrong. It was you." Nu Lang's body shook. He had always hoped that his brother had just gone out to play. Although the possibility was low, it was still a hope. But now, this hope was broken by Yang Kai. He admitted that his brother's disappearance was related to him, and he killed him. "They wanted to kill me. Of course, I can kill them." Yang Kai was a little impatient. "Don't talk nonsense. Let's fight." Good. Nu Lang's murderous intent soared as he glared at Yang Kai with resentment. "Since you dare to take responsibility for your actions, I won't say anything more. Today, I will use your life to pay tribute to his soul in heaven." While talking, Nu Lang launched his movement skill. His body flashed and arrived in front of Yang Kai in a blink of an eye. His hands swept horizontally towards Yang Kai's throat like an eagle's claw. Yang Kai's face was cold. The strength of a cultivator at the Qi-transforming realm was really different from that of a cultivator at the initial element realm. The power of this attack was incomparable. In a hurry, Yang Kai leaned back and put his hand on his throat to protect his vital parts. Nu Lang beamed a faint smile. His 5 fingers changed direction midway, trying to grab something. Swish, Yang Kai stumbled back a few steps. Looking down, he saw that his clothes had been torn apart, and there were 5 blood-red claw marks on his chest. Furthermore, there was a strange aura that had invaded his body. He activated the true Yang secret art and dissolved the chi in a blink of an eye. You're just a level 4 initial element realm warrior. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? I won't kill you quickly. I will torture you until you wish you were dead. Nu Lang's face became more ferocious as his attack succeeded. Fancy but impractical moves. You fight like a woman and scratch people. Don't you feel ashamed? Yang Kai tore off his tattered clothes, revealing his skinny but strong body. He sneered with a cold face. Nu Lang's face reddened, but he couldn't refute. Who asked him to cultivate claw martial arts? This was indeed a little inelegant. You have a sharp tongue. Don't beg for mercy later. Nu Lang didn't want to show off his courage. His hands were like eagle claws, attacking again. You want to taste the power of my fists? Yang Kai laughed and punched towards the 2 crazy claws. You're overestimating yourself. Nu Lang sneered. With his chi transforming realm level 1 cultivation, even if it was a hard rock, he could scratch a few holes in it. Not to mention the fist of a cultivator at the initial element realm level 4. Chapter 99. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them started to fight. Yang Kai's fist fiercely hit Nu Lang's palm, but Nu Lang's 5 fingers grabbed it tightly. The yuan qi in their bodies burst out at the same time, colliding with each other. What? Nu Lang was surprised. He found that the yuan qi in Yang Kai's body was so overbearing that even he couldn't resist it for a long time. How could it be? There was a big gap between their strengths. No matter what, he couldn't be a threat to him. However, the fact was in front of him, so Nu Lang had to be cautious. If this stalemate continued, he was afraid that his 5 fingers would really be burned. Thinking of this, Nu Lang retracted his hand and jumped back a few steps. He wanted to take advantage of this short time to dissolve the yuan qi in his body. Looking at Yang Kai with a gloomy face, Nu Lang was even more surprised. Because when they had fought a moment ago, he hadn't been able to crush Yang Kai's fist. Although he had left 5 finger holes on his fist, it wasn't the result he had expected. In his estimation, that grab just now should have been able to crush his entire fist. He did have some skills. No wonder why his junior brothers were killed by him. It seemed he didn't win by luck. Nu Lang's face became solemn. Yang Kai shook his fist, bowed his head and looked at it. When he raised his eyes again, the craziness in his eyes was thicker. Yang Kai had been hiding, letting the blood in his body boil, feeling the pain from his wounds, and feeling the pressure from the enemy. He had been trying to raise his unyielding will. Only with an unyielding will and determination to win would the mysterious martial skill that belonged solely to him be able to display its greatest effect. And now, this moment had come. Yang Kai didn't need to be suppressed anymore. A flow of boiling hot energy came out from his bones. Along with this flow of hot energy, Yang Kai felt that his entire body had changed. Before, when he had accidentally triggered the unyielding will, Yang Kai didn't know why. Even if he defeated the enemy, he was still confused. But this time, it was different. He could clearly feel a huge amount of energy being generated from his bones, pouring into his meridians, nourishing his flesh and blood, and crazily increasing his strength. Again! Yang Kai was like a wolf hunting for prey in the jungle. His eyes gazed at Nu Lang, roaring and launching a strike. It was the same punch as before without any fancy moves. You want to die? Nu Lang sneered. Although he was surprised by Yang Kai's yuan qi, it didn't mean that Yang Kai could hurt him. As long as he stopped in time, even if the yuan qi was strange, he couldn't hurt him. On the other hand, he could hurt Yang Kai again, and there would always be a moment when he would be able to crush his entire fist. It could be said that the reckless way Yang Kai had chosen to fight was in line with Nu Lang's taste. While sneering, Nu Lang's big hand grabbed Yang Kai one more time. In the second head-on collision, Nu Lang felt something was wrong because the power in Yang Kai's punch was much stronger than before. The Yuan Qi was also more ferocious. It was almost the same as the full power of the initial element realm level 5. But so what? Initial element realm level 4 and initial element realm level 5 were the same in his eyes. They weren't a threat at all. Only death awaited them. After this exchange, the injury on Kai Yang's fist became more and more serious. Blood dripped from his fist, and his body was forced to retreat. He cut an extremely sorry figure. Nu Lang had already started, but in for a penny, in for a pound. Taking advantage of the situation, he continued to attack Kai Yang. His claws whistled through the air, leaving a trail of claw marks in the darkness. Yang Kai didn't say anything. He just stubbornly fought back. When Nu Lang's attack arrived, he threw out a punch. Left punch, right punch. His rhythm was clear. Although the wound on his hand wasn't light, he had blocked all of Nu Lang's attacks, making him unable to take his life. In the dark night, muffled thuds echoed one after another. Along with each thud, Yang Kai's body retreated a few steps. The wound on his hand was getting more and more serious. However, his eyes didn't show any sign of panic. Instead, he was resolute. A thought of winning was brewing in his heart, waiting for the last moment to burst out. How could it be? Nu Lang was extremely shocked. On the surface, it seemed that he had the absolute advantage. After all, his realm was much higher than Yang Kai's. If he couldn't gain the upper hand, then all his years of cultivation would have been in vain. However, Nu Lang couldn't say anything. His 10 fingers had been burned by Yang Kai's Yuan Qi. Each of his fingers had a circle of blisters as if they were burned by fire. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. The heart-piercing pain came from his fingertips, making him gasp for air. If it was only like this, Nu Lang wouldn't be so shocked. What he was really shocked about was Yang Kai's strength. In the first battle, Yang Kai's strength was as he had observed. A mere 4th level of the initial element realm was nothing to be afraid of. The second battle, his strength had risen to 5th level of the initial element realm. The fourth battle, this kid's punch and the Yuan Qi fluctuation had reached 6th level of the initial element realm. The 7th battle, 7th level of the initial element realm. The 12th battle, 8th level of the initial element realm. It seemed that as the battle continued, this person's strength was rising like a sesame seed. This was extremely strange and unimaginable. Moreover, this rising didn't show any sign of stopping. Nu Lang's face was aghast. He didn't know to what extent Kai Yang's strength had risen. If he had directly reached the Qi transforming stage, then he would have no hope of victory, because his opponent's world Qi was too overbearing. After half an hour, Nu Lang couldn't fight with Yang Kai face to face anymore because he couldn't gain any advantage. Every time they fought, Yang Kai's body was like a rock, motionless at the same place. On the contrary, Nu Lang was the one who was forced to retreat. Nu Lang could only use his agility to deal with Yang Kai. He tried to find an opportunity to give Yang Kai a fatal blow. However, although Yang Kai's defense was simple, it was airtight. Nu Lang couldn't find an opportunity to kill. 9th level of the initial element realm. Nu Lang's eyes trembled. He found that after this battle, Yang Kai's strength had risen to the peak of the initial element realm. However, his Yuan Qi fluctuation finally stabilized and didn't continue to rise. This discovery made Nu Lang heave a sigh of relief. Although he was only at the 1st level of the Qi transformation realm, which was only 1 level higher than the 9th level of the initial element realm, this 1 level difference was also a big gap. Therefore, Nu Lang was still confident that he could kill Yang Kai. He must have eaten some kind of pellet to increase his strength. However, no matter what kind of pellet it was, there would be some side effects. His essence was still at the 4th level of the initial element realm. Regarding the Yuan Qi storage in his body, he couldn't be compared with Nu Lang's. Nu Lang was waiting for Yang Kai to be exhausted. Then he would take his life. Chapter 100. While Nu Lang had made up his mind, Yang Kai suddenly stopped his attack. He frowned as if he was thinking about something. In the next moment, a loud noise was heard. A fiery red light burst out in the dark night, frightening Nu Lang to the point that his soul almost left his body. At this moment, Yang Kai's body was burning with a layer of flame. It wasn't a real flame. It was the effect of the Yuan Qi in his body when it reached a certain level. The fiery red Yuan Qi wrapped him up. For a moment, the heat wave hit his face. The Yin Qi in the valley seemed to have met its nemesis and couldn't gather around him anymore. Kai Yang's face was illuminated by the fiery red light of the world Qi. On his upper body, his refined muscles tightened, making him look wild and uninhibited, moving unhindered and unhindered. His fists were badly mutilated, and there was a sword wound about half a foot long on his abdomen. Blood was still flowing out of the wound, and his flesh was overturned. It was extremely terrifying. His eyes were scarlet, and like a trapped beast, they emitted endless madness and bloodthirsty aura. The evil aura was awe-inspiring. Nu Lang was frightened. He hurriedly retreated a few steps and screamed, "Mad demon!" He thought that Yang Kai couldn't control the Yuan Qi in his body during the battle and let the Yuan Qi go crazy and swallow his mind. However, shouldn't this kind of thing only happen in the Qi transformation realm and above? He was just a cultivator in the initial element realm. How could this happen? Mad demon? Yang Kai turned his head to look at him. Although his eyes were frightening, his face was calm. He didn't have the expression that a person who had become the demon race should have. He said disdainfully, "Short-sighted." While talking, the burning Yuan Qi on his body was retracted. The flames in the sky disappeared, leaving only two fists covered with a layer of true Yang Yuan Qi. It looked like these two fists were holding two burning flames. The flames were swaying with the wind, but they didn't stop. "Do you still have consciousness?" Nu Lang looked at Yang Kai in surprise. He wanted to find a trace of humanity in his eyes. However, he was disappointed. He couldn't see any humanity in those scarlet eyes. Only the crazy fighting spirit and the aura of slaughter were left. It shouldn't be. This was the state of the mad demon. His eyes didn't have any humanity. How could he still think? "You tell me, do I?" Yang Kai took a step forward. With this step, the distance between him and Nu Lang was shortened to the limit. Nu Lang was shocked. He never thought that Yang Kai's current speed would be so fast. Hurriedly retreating, it swept out its claws in an attempt to block Yang Kai's path. Kai Yang's burning right fist met that hand, and with a whistling sound, smashed into Nu Lang's 5 fingers. Crack! A crisp sound echoed, followed by Nu Lang's terrified scream. His body flew up like a kite. After he landed on the ground, he felt a heart-piercing pain from his 5 fingers. He looked around and found that his 5 fingers were twisted, and he couldn't straighten them anymore. His fingers were full of burns and his bones were broken. Not only that, there was also a flow of fierce and overbearing Yuan Qi invading his body, burning his meridians and flesh. Nu Lang didn't dare to be careless. He quickly extended his other hand and hit his arm a few times to stop the Yuan Qi from invading his body. As soon as he finished this action, a light flashed in front of him. He raised his head and found that Yang Kai was approaching him. The flames on his fists were getting brighter. How could Nu Lang dare to fight? At this moment, he knew that he, who had just reached the first level of the Qi transformation realm, couldn't beat Yang Kai, the cultivator of the initial element realm. Using all of his strength, Nu Lang moved his feet and moved backward. At the same time, he let out a long shout. His shout was mixed with panic and fear, spreading far and wide. Flames suddenly appeared under Kai Yang's feet, and his speed suddenly increased to a level that even surprised him. Like a shadow, he chased after Nu Lang and fiercely punched him again and again. Bam bam bam, Nu Lang took several punches in a row. He couldn't resist at all. His head was dizzy and his consciousness was blurred. After 50 steps, Nu Lang finally understood that he couldn't get rid of Yang Kai's pursuit. At this moment, the young man's blood was stimulated. He suddenly stopped and shouted with a ferocious face, "Yang Kai, don't push me too far. Eagle soars the sky, die for me." This was Nu Lang's most powerful claw attack. He poured all of his Yuan Qi into his hands, crossing them in front of his body to protect himself. Then he aimed at Yang Kai's chest and fiercely tore it to both sides. The full power of a first level of the Qi Transformation Realm Cultivator was something that even Yang Kai didn't dare to underestimate. Feeling the enormous killing power hidden in the two hands, Yang Kai's face became serious. If he were to be caught by him, Kai Yang reckoned that his chest would be torn apart. In that split second, Kai Yang instinctively leaned his body to the side. His fiery fists continued to smash towards Nu Lang's face without losing any momentum. Both of them were risking their lives. This was destined to be the last attack that would give them a chance to live. Either you die or I die. Bang. When Kai Yang's fist landed on Nu Lang's face, his delicate facial features immediately distorted. Nu Lang's entire body was thrown backwards by the force of Kai Yang's punch. After flipping a few times in the air, he finally landed on the ground with a thud. Swoosh. Nu Lang's two claws didn't disappoint as they swept towards Yang Kai's chest. However, the expected scene of Yang Kai being cut open didn't happen. Only 10 bloody scars were left on his chest, 5 shallow and 5 deep. At the crucial moment, Yang Kai's side move played a crucial role. One of Nu Lang's finger bones had been broken just now. When the eagle soars the sky was used, the strength of the two hands was definitely different. Yang Kai's side move was to control the difference between the light and heavy forces, so that Nu Lang's two hands couldn't exert force at the same time, which was equivalent to breaking his attack. This kind of response was the result of his mind and was also an instinctive reaction. During the battle, Yang Kai didn't think too much about it. However, it had to be said that this kind of counterattack was indeed ingenious. The scene suddenly quieted down. The result of this desperate battle had been decided. Yang Kai was gasping for breath, but his body was still full of evil aura. Nu Lang was sprawled on the ground like a dead dog. His face was badly mutilated. He resentfully stared at Yang Kai, who was walking towards him step by step. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Nu Lang swallowed the blood in his mouth and said ferociously. Yang Kai looked down at him, lifted one of his big feet and stomped down. The blood group's people will hear my message. They will come to kill. Nu Lang hadn't finished his sentence when his neck was crushed by Yang Kai, and he died. The 5 people of Storm House were completely annihilated. Calmly standing at the same place, feeling the boiling blood and fighting spirit in his body. Yang Kai's face was grave and stern as he pondered for a moment. A crazy idea emerged in his mind. Chapter 101. A long roar rang out as Yang Kai's figure became wild, like a bloodthirsty beast, his roar piercing through the sky and echoing endlessly throughout the mountain valley. Come and fight. Bloody battle gangs trash. This was an invitation to fight, a blatant provocation. I'm here, waiting for you. He knew that if he stayed, there would be trouble. After all, Nu Lang had used his roar to signal them. Although this valley covered an area of dozens of miles, it was late at night, so those people must have heard his roar and were rushing here. At this time, the safest way was to leave. After 3 battles and killing 5 people, Yang Kai's mental and physical strength had been greatly consumed. His body had also suffered a lot of injuries. How could he confront the bloody battle gang's group again? Leaving this place, waiting for an opportunity to recover, was undoubtedly the right way to go. But Yang Kai couldn't leave, and he wouldn't leave, because now his mental strength had reached its peak. Once he left this place, there would be a feeling of fear in his heart. Once he had this feeling, how could the unyielding will be useful? Without the support of the unyielding will, he was just an initial element 4th level cultivator. It was time to chase after the enemy. Yang Kai wanted to use his peak power to give the bloody battle gang's disciples a big surprise. Of course, all of this was based on the fact that Xia Ningchang's deduction was correct. The bloody battle gang's group wasn't comparable to the Storm House's group. Most of them were separation and reunion level experts. Normally, this level of cultivator could easily kill Yang Kai. But now, they were sealed by the 9 in 8 locks formation, so it was hard to say how much strength they had left. After hearing Kai Yang's roar, Xia Ningchang suddenly opened her eyes. Her heart that had been filled with nervousness and regret was finally able to relax. He didn't die. He didn't die. Xianxia almost cried. She had been worried about Yang Kai's safety. She was afraid that he wouldn't come back and leave her here alone. His strength was so low, and the other side had so many people, how could he resist? Ever since Yang Kai left, Xianxia had been blaming himself and regretting that he should have risked his life to keep him here. He should not have let him go. However, not to mention that time, even now her condition was not very good. If Yang Kai was determined to leave, she could not stop him at all. Because he wanted to come to this place, he had to involve him in this huge danger. Xianxia felt extremely guilty. The naive girl only took the blame for herself. She didn't think that whether it was Storm House or Blood Group, it was all because of Yang Kai that they chased after her. As for the culprit, it was still Kai Yang. However, Xianxia was relieved that his junior brother was safe and sound. Moreover, his voice was mixed with a kind of fearless fighting spirit, a kind of inspiring signal. Although he didn't know what he was facing now, Xianxia felt that the only thing he could do was to quickly recover and then go out to help him and save him. On the other side of the valley, when Fei Chen, who was dissolving the yin qi chains in his body, and Long Hui, who was guarding beside him, also heard Yang Kai's roar clearly. When this roar came, when Fei Chen could not help but frown. His mind was interrupted and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. This beast! When Fei Chen was furious. He was at a critical moment, but was disturbed by his roar and actually suffered a little internal injury because of it. "Hull Master Wen, how is the dissolving?" Long Hui seemed to ask with concern. When Fei Chen slowly shook his head, "Not good, this thing is beyond my knowledge. I don't know whose disciple that girl is, to be able to set up such a marvelous array." The 3 yin qi chains not only sealed the flow of yuan qi in his meridians, but also sealed his dantian, causing his strength to only reach the qi transformation stage 3rd level. Just now, he had used up a lot of energy, so his strength had decreased by a lot. When Fei Chen was so angry that he couldn't wait to capture Yang Kai and that girl and kill them 100 times over. A dignified yuan qi stage 5th level expert was actually played by 2 juniors to such an extent. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? "Hull Master Wen, don't worry. That brat dared to expose his whereabouts. I think he should be dead by now." Long Hui's expression was firm, and a cold smile appeared on his face. When Fei Chen didn't answer because he understood the meaning behind Yang Kai's roar. It wasn't the roar of a dead end, but an unstoppable roar filled with battle intent. However, a mere initial element stage 4th level cultivator, what are you so arrogant for? Therefore, although when Fei Chen felt that something was wrong, he didn't take it to heart. He also thought that Yang Kai was a cornered beast that would fight and die without a doubt. Everyone in the valley had different thoughts. Outside the valley, a white-haired old man suddenly flew in. This old man's breath was long, and his yuan qi waves were hidden, making people unable to see through his depth. However, his speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye he had already flown over 100 feet. The old man's face was full of worry and anxiety. He looked up at the sky and was extremely regretful. Oh no, I can't make it in time. My little grandaunt, please don't open the array too early." The old man muttered to himself as he ran. This old man was the shopkeeper of the contribution hall, Meng Wuya. Meng Wuya felt that he had really lost face. That night, he had tried his best to persuade his disciple not to come to the 9th Yin congregation ground. After all, it wasn't necessary to refine the 9th Yin yuan condensing due to advance to the yuan qi realm. Xianxia was obedient and agreed. Meng Wuya was in a good mood. Xianxia had prepared a few dishes and a few pots of wine. Meng Wuya drank and ate while talking about Yang Kai's faults, trying to make his disciple stay away from him. This was because Meng Wuya could see that his disciple still cared about Yang Kai. It wasn't love between a man and a woman, but a kind of protection. However, this wasn't a good sign, and Meng Wuya wanted to nip it in the bud. All these years, his disciple had been very well behaved and obedient. Meng Wuya treated her like a treasure. He kept her in his mouth but was afraid she would melt. He held her in his hand but was afraid she would fall. This caused her to be too naive and didn't understand the sinister nature of people's hearts. Meng Wuya was worried. What if Yang Kai had bad intentions and seduced his disciple? This was the time when one was young and ignorant of love. Once his disciple fell in love, things would become difficult. Therefore, Meng Wuya had ulterior motives. Although he felt ashamed, his mouth was full of scolding Yang Kai. He said that he was lecherous and heartless, and that he blamed all the bad things on Yang Kai. He did everything he could to smear his reputation. At the end, Meng Wuya sternly warned Xia Ningchang, "Disciple, you must stay away from this kind of person." Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.